This month's podcasts are sponsored by Aubergine Legal. Do you sometimes worry that your business isn't meeting all its legal compliance requirements and wonder if you're ticking all the legal boxes? Are you losing sleep worrying about a piece of legislation that you may or may not be complying with? Perhaps you need some help with your client contracts or your data protection compliance. Or maybe you're worried that your website doesn't have the right documents or legal notices in the right place. Perhaps you have a brand that you want to protect with a trademark. How about if you could outsource it all and eliminate all of your worries? If so, then get in touch with Aubergine Legal, a friendly commercial legal consultancy offering practical and clear commercial legal advice without the overwhelming legal jargon, taking the worry away and helping you to protect your business and minimise your risks. Aubergine offers a free 30-minute consultation if you have any questions or want to find out if they can help, and you can access this link and book your free 30-minute call via the link in the show notes. Welcome to the Bring Your Product Idea to Life podcast. This is the podcast for you if you're getting started selling products or if you'd like to create your own product to sell. I'm Vicky Weinberg, a product creation coach and Amazon expert. Every week I share friendly, practical advice as well as inspirational stories from small businesses. Let's get started. Today I'm talking to Liam Murphy from Stix Mindfulness. Stix is the world's first handheld sensory product designed to encourage children to take control of their well-being by making mindfulness fun. The Stix Remotes use audio, haptic feedback and calming lights to guide kids through fun and interactive therapeutic activities involving balancing, deep breathing, guided meditations and more. The companion app gamifies the experience, rewarding children for practicing mindfulness. I had a really great conversation with Liam. I found his story really interesting. Liam explains how this whole product was actually part of his project in the last year of university, and since then he's done lots of work. He sought investment, gone through rounds of crowdfunding, and it is now a product that you can buy. I found the whole thing fascinating. Liam is the first guest I've had on who sold a product that is both a physical product and a tech product, because there is the app side to his product as well. And yeah, I think this is a really fantastic, interesting conversation, and I would love now to introduce you to Liam. So hi Liam, thank you so much for being here.
Hi Vicky, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Can we start by you please giving an introduction to yourself, your business and what you sell?
Sure. My name's Liam. I'm the co-founder of Stix Mindfulness, and we've created a product that makes mindfulness fun for kids through interactive technology. So the product is two handheld devices that guide children through sort of audio-based meditations that are interactive and involve movement. So we have activities that focus on balancing, deep breathing, guided meditations and more. And the sticks themselves sort of provide audio and sensory feedback through lights and haptics, whilst also gamifying the whole experience on the app afterwards. So the idea is to make mindfulness fun. We launched the product in February this year, so we're selling through our website. And yeah, it's been amazing seeing it in the kids' hands and sort of seeing the product turn to life.
That's brilliant, thank you. And let's start right from the beginning, Liam. What inspired you to create Stix?
So I'm a product designer by trade. I studied product design in Brighton University. And my final year project was focusing on alternatives to medication for kids with ADHD. And that was inspired by my brother's ADHD growing up and his experience with medication and it not working for him. And now it does work for many children. But for him, he didn't like taking it and it was worse side effects than the ADHD itself. So he had to learn how to deal with his ADHD. And going through that as an older brother, when you're younger, you don't really understand what's going on. But when you're older, you realize the struggles he went through. That inspired me to look into exploring alternatives to medication for other kids growing up. And as a person who practices mindfulness myself, I was quite interested in exploring how mindfulness can help children with ADHD or just children in general. And went through various stages of research, ideation, development and launch, to create a very early concept of the Stix device, which looks nothing like what it is today. But it was the end of the university project. And that was sort of how it got to a sort of basic prototype at the start. So yeah, all inspired by my younger brother.
Oh, that's amazing. And really lovely as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about the sort of the creation side of the product in a moment, if that's okay. But first, let's touch on a little bit about how and why mindfulness is so important for children. Because you mentioned you practice mindfulness yourself. So if you wouldn't mind just speaking a little bit about the benefits of it.
Sure. So, I mean, when I was practicing it recently, when I was at university, I was doing it for stress and anxiety around exams and sort of hand-ins. And I found it particularly useful. And it made me think, why didn't we practice this when we were younger? We didn't do anything like that at school. And I'm pretty sure they're introducing it now into schools. And that's part of our drive, is to get Stix into schools to teach people mindfulness at a younger age. But it's so important to learn at a younger age, as it teaches sort of different emotional regulation skills, teaches them mental resilience, which will support them as they grow older. And when you realize that 50% of adults with mental health issues right now actually develop them before the age of 14, it shows we need to invest more in the sort of prevention of these mental health issues. And we can start by introducing mindfulness at a younger age.
That's brilliant. Thank you. I completely agree. I know that my children are still quite young. They're at primary school, and I know that they've introduced breathing exercises, which I know is only one element of mindfulness, but I think it's actually a good place to start, and at least gives children some tools. And I know that Stix obviously give a wider range of tools for children.
Yeah, I mean, so the product we've launched now has 12 activities built into it. And we developed those activities alongside experts at Brunel. So we had a psychology expert and a mindfulness expert that teach us the mindfulness skills that we can integrate into our technology. And so we've set out 12 activities that are split into 4 categories. So we focus on mindfulness of the body, the breath, thoughts and feelings, and also of the heart, which is a nice sort of way to sort of introduce curiosity and love and gratitude and stuff like that to children at a younger age. And each of these activities involves sort of movements and deep breathing. So they've got that deep breathing element to them all, but they also introduce skills that they can then take out into the world afterwards.
That's brilliant. And I guess your product is quite unique as well, because I'm just thinking that it is a physical product, as in I'm assuming you buy it and it comes in a box, but then there's the app that goes alongside it as well. So was that quite challenging, creating a product that had those 2 elements to it?
Yeah, no, it really was. If I take you back to when we started product as a business, it was just a screen-free product. Actually, no, that's a lie. It was a product that controlled a screen. So it was 2 remotes that controlled something on a screen, and the mindfulness activity would show you what was happening on the screen. But from speaking to parents and children, we found that the parents themselves didn't like the screen element. They liked to have more control over what the children saw. And giving them a phone before bed, for example, wasn't the way they wanted their kids to practice mindfulness. But the kids themselves needed some sort of extra motivation to actually do the activity. So we introduced an app that isn't necessary for the product. So you can use the product without an app, and you can be completely screen-free. But then if you want to sort of encourage a child to keep using it, you gamify the experience with the app. So by completing an activity, you sync up with the app, earn some stars, which you can then use to customize your own monster avatar. But in terms of sort of developing both the hardware and an app, I think the most difficult thing is the Stix are 2 remotes. So they talk to each other, but then those 2 remotes also speak to the app. So it's a 3-way conversation, which is much more difficult than just having a sort of phone to device sort of communication. It's the 3-way piece, which was very difficult for us, and we had to get over several technological sort of humps and setbacks that we had throughout the journey. But so I'll give you an example. Having 2 products that speak to each other, they have to be in sync. Otherwise, even if it's just a fraction of a second, it drives you crazy, because you've got a voice that's talking on one side and it sounds like an echo on the other. But then this also having to pair up with the app afterwards just threw in a whole load of challenges that wouldn't have been there had we only just developed one product.
So you mentioned that you were studying product design, but I guess there was a big technology aspect to this. So did you have to put in a team of people to help move this idea forward? Because it sounds like just such a massive undertaking, because, yeah, I don't need to tell you why, it just does. So was this something where you had to put in a lot of other resources to get this made?
So when we started, we actually started by applying to an accelerator program with the Central Research Laboratory, and they essentially helped us for 6 months to build the product into a business but also support us with the product development team. And they helped us sort of develop the basic concept and turn it into something a bit more developed for maybe pitching to investors and showing kids that you can showing the kids how it works. And through that period, we had a really supportive team from the accelerator, and that helped us get to a point where we could then try and reach out and build a team. So we were successful with applying for a grant, which helped us hire an engineer and an app developer. And then from there, we brought on a CTO who sort of led the sort of technological developments. And so the team's grown to about 5 or 6 now, which we wouldn't have been able to do without them.
Wow. And it feels like that's happened relatively quickly as well. I'm trying to keep track of the timescales, but it feels like you've done this pretty quick.
No, so we've been working on this for about 3 years. To get a product from a sketch to a released product in 3 years, I think is reasonable. It didn't happen overnight.
Yeah, I think it's quite fast for a project, that's this complex. So what point, so you mentioned this was part of your project for your last year at university. So at what point did you go, oh, actually, maybe this is something I want to do commercially?
So I got a job straight away out of university, and I was quite lucky in the fact that I could accelerate my career straight away. But as I was sat there every day, it was an itch that could scratch, and I wanted to take it further. And I was typing up notes on the side, looking at maybe where I'd get it manufactured and what the next steps would be to develop the concept slightly more. But it wasn't something that I really knew how to take the next step towards until one day I got a random email from this accelerator program that I applied to saying, we found your product online, we think you should apply. So I gave it a go and asked my dad, did he want to come pitch it with me? He was free at the time. And so he came along, we pitched it together, got onto the program, and then decided actually, let's give this a go for the 6 months. Let's see what we can do, where we can take the concept. And if it's something that at the end of it looks like it's got some legs, then we'll go full steam ahead. And we got that grant at the end of it to help us hire a team and develop the product further. So we were lucky with that development.
Absolutely. And it sounds like this is an accelerator program that you have to pitch to join. Do you have any sense of, and I know you this might be a tricky question, but do you have any sense of what you did or why your product was of interest to the accelerator? I'm just trying to think if there's anything that people can take away.
Yeah, I think the story behind why you want to do this, there were so many great products there that, the product alone isn't going to get you the investment you want or the grants or anything. You need the story behind it, the passion, the inspiration, and the drive, really, because that's what people buy into at the start. When you haven't got a fully working product, people are buying into you, the story, and the passion, so they can get involved in it as well and provide their support to help you get it to that stage to actually grow it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. And when you're talking about the accelerator program at the beginning, you were talking about investment. Was that part of your strategy? Have you been able to get investment?
Yes, we've done a pre-seed round, and it was very difficult, I must say. There's always a hurdle you can jump over to sort of be better. And even now we're looking to carry out a seed round, and we're thinking, well, we could do this to make ourselves slightly better before going out and trying to raise money. But it comes a point where you need to go, no, let's put all our effort into raising the money. We've done enough. There is always better. And so, you need to have that sort of talk with yourself and work out what you want to achieve before going to raise money and what people are going to expect from you before you take their money. Yeah,
and I imagine that's a really hard balance between what you want and what you're prepared to offer as well.
Yeah, exactly. And especially in this economy now, I'm sure investors will try to drive down all sorts of valuations. And so it's just making sure you're firm in your belief with what you have and what you value the business at, and finding the right investor to suit that valuation.
Yeah. And so when was the product actually available to buy? When was it launched?
So we launched it in February. It was a bit of a tight deadline. We did a Kickstarter campaign in May last year, and that helped fund the manufacture of the first batch of products. And so we were delivering those in February whilst also launching in February. So it was a real tight turnaround to build these products in-house, we got them assembled in the UK, manufactured in the UK, assembled in our office. So there's a lot of work putting them together, getting them out the door, whilst also launching to the public for them to buy off our website. But yeah, we launched just before Children's Mental Health Week and been selling since. So yeah, it's been a real up and down journey, but it's great so far.
That sounds like good timing for launch. I assume that was strategic.
It was, and we had to meet that deadline, which is why I was so busy, but it was definitely worth it.
And is that, I guess, tying it into an event like that's probably helped? Because I've had other businesses on here before who sold a unique product, and I would say your product's unique. I haven't seen anything like it anyway. What are some of the challenges you face with selling a product that's completely unique? Because I'm assuming, and I know this is a big question, we can always break it down, that there'll be lots of parents who haven't heard of mindfulness, who don't know why it's good for their children. So there's that side of it. And then there's also educating them on what your product is, what it does. That's quite a lot, isn't it, to convey?
Yeah, and it's really difficult to know whether you're conveying the right information, whether they understand that information. And we found that out the hard way because we launched, thought our website was perfect, having just done a redesign. But then we found that, parents were spending ages on one certain page, which you didn't even think was relevant. For example, the returns page, the returns policy. They're spending 2 minutes on average on that page. And we were wondering, how can we prevent that? Why are they doing that? And so what we did was add a 14-day money-back guarantee to the main store page in big bold as a badge. They could see it straight away, and that added a level of sort of belief in the product and makes them realize, okay, if it's not something for me, I can return it, and that's fine. Whereas when it's a product that's so new and they don't understand it fully, it's really difficult to invest this amount of money. The product's £159. Investing that much money in a product they don't know, they've never used it before, they've never seen it before, they don't know if it will work. And so it's trying to build that trust through various techniques like money back guarantee or testimonials and videos from users. And even one example was adding a booking link to our website. So if anyone wanted a quick call to ask a question, they could just go ahead and book whenever suited them. And that allowed them to sort of ask the questions that we wanted to hear, because we wanted to know what we're missing from the website that they didn't understand. We would provide our time to them, tell them about the product. And then from that, we learn what we need to improve on the website.
I love that idea. That is so smart. And how you found the take up? Are you finding lots of people are booking those calls?
What we're finding is more people are actually just messaging through the sort of website chat, and it's an automated response, but it also pings up my phone. So as soon as I see a question come in, I'm instantly there to answer it as quick as possible, because I want to get that feedback from them and make sure they understand what they're seeing. So I think people just prefer that easier text side of communication rather than actually booking a call. But yeah, we've had a few conversations with people, and it helped us understand, this shop page may not have enough information about how the product works, and it's just about the price and delivery and what the product is. We want to show the benefits, and so we've changed all that and sort of made adjustments to the store page in order to educate people about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And how about in terms of sort of raising awareness about the product and the fact that it even exists? What are some of the things you've done there?
Yeah, I mean, we've been learning throughout. We're still learning today. So it's probably one of my key takeaways for today is you think you can launch straight away and it'll run perfectly, but you have to keep adapting, keep changing your marketing messaging, your methods of marketing. So we've launched social media ads, and, they go through ups and downs of sort of engagement. You get really good engagement and good sales, and then it can just randomly drop off without changing anything. It's about refreshing your content, making sure the people that are seeing it that aren't buying it are then seeing something else to convince them to sort of take that sale over the line. We've been doing emails, just trying to educate them on what the product is, but also how it's benefiting people out there that have it. So we've got some great case studies on our website about the product supporting children's anxiety and SATs exams at schools, stuff like that. So there's lots of information there, and it's just about guiding people to it so that they can see it before making that purchase.
Yeah, and I imagine that is quite a job because, as I say, it's something that parents aren't necessarily looking for. So yeah, there's lots of hurdles, isn't there? For at first, people be able to find the product and then realize what the benefits are, and then figure out how it works. There's actually a lot of boxes to tick. That must be a real challenge.
Yeah, it's really hard to look for something you don't know exists, and so people are sort of out there wanting something to support their children's mental health and to add to their toolkit of tools that they use to support their children's mental well-being. And without knowing what Stix is or what it does, they don't know it's there. So it's about getting out there, proving that it should be part of that toolkit, and then just staying on top of the ads and the emails to make sure we're getting the messaging across.
Yeah. And you mentioned quite in the beginning of this call, I think you were mentioning about Stix in schools. And is that something you're working on as well?
Yeah, it's something we're working on at the moment. So we're running about 10 trials at the moment in 10 different schools. We've just completed one in collaboration with the ADHD Foundation and 2 schools in Liverpool. And so, yeah, we're just trying to get out there and learn how it's used in schools, because it's a completely different use case to at home, where a kid can just stroll up into his room and use the product. When you've got a kid, when you've got family, a school full of 30 children, and you can only use it one at a time. It's about understanding how the teacher interacts with the product, where the child takes it and uses it. Do they need the teacher there for support? Do they need a tablet or a phone to activate the activities, or are they happy just doing it offline and not getting the rewards? When I say offline, that's the screen-free mode that we have. And so the 10 trials we've been doing has been about learning, how it's used in that case. So now we can go and pitch it to more schools and say, we've had these schools use it this way and it's helped children in this way. And that's why you should have it in your school.
I love, by the way, how ambitious you are. I think this is amazing. But it is so important. I can see why it's so important, and it's great. Like, it means so much to you as well. I really like your story about, your reason behind creating the product. What does your brother think of it, by the way?
Oh, he loves it. He doesn't actually use it. He's only 18 months younger than me. So
yeah,
it was never designed for him per se. It was inspired by him.
Yeah, so I know what you mean, but it's nice, I guess, for him to think that, he was the inspiration behind it. What ages children does it work for, by the way?
So at the moment, it's primary school kids aged 5 to 12. We haven't had older kids use it, and we've actually had younger kids use it. But the kids that are younger sort of typically need more support from the parents. So maybe a 4-year-old sitting with their parents and doing the mindfulness activities does work for them, but they just need that extra guidance. But we are looking to develop sort of team-based content as well. So that'll be something we hopefully roll out by September. So the product can just expand and help more children.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for explaining all of that. I mean, I've loved hearing more about the product, and yeah, I think it's fantastic, and I'm super impressed, actually, because I feel like it's an amazing product, and there's so many elements that sort of had to come together, and it sounds like you're doing brilliantly. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Oh, thank you very much.
I have one more question, if that's okay, though, before we finish. What would your number one piece of advice be, Liam, for other product creators? So anyone else listening to this, what's something you'd like them to take away?
So, I mean, the one takeaway I've held with myself from other people throughout my journey is your idea, that's just a concept or a sketch, is nothing without validation from people. So don't be scared to sort of go out there and test it and speak to people and have it stated, and then you improve it and sort of iterate around their comments, because other people are going to use it and buy it in the end. However, the sort of adaptation to that, from my perspective, is validation from customers doesn't guarantee success. You can develop something that really helps people, but doesn't necessarily get purchased by them. And you need to work out why, and you need to constantly iterate on that as well and pivot maybe to a different marketing strategy, different routes to market, and sort of get it. You can build something, test it with people, they'll love it, they won't buy it. And so it's how will they buy it, and just working out that route, which you will get to, but it just takes a bit of time. It's not perfect straight away.
That's a really good point. Thank you for that, because I talk a lot to people about validating their ideas and making sure that, you're creating what customers want. But I hadn't actually considered the fact that even if you're considering what customers want, they might not necessarily buy it. And do you think there's any way of finding that out unless you're actually asking them for money?
Yeah, there are tools you can do. So, I mean, you could maybe sell them a prototype with the guarantee that they'll get the full product when it's available. So that's one technique we tried. However, it's really difficult to do because, parting ways with £100 for a prototype when it doesn't work properly, it does half of what it should do and what it will do. And telling them they'll get the full product when it's ready, but they don't know when that will be. It's quite a hard commitment for families in our case to make. There are different techniques you can try. They're all difficult and none of them are perfect. But another example is setting up a fake store page and getting them to click through and take their card out and validate through a purchase and then refunding them. But again, you're losing a bit of trust with people who have gone and paid you X amount of money. Only to get a refund straight away. It can annoy people, and sometimes that's worse than actually validating it. So yeah, it really depends on the product and the approach you take.
That's really helpful. Thank you. And I guess your Kickstarter campaign probably did that to some extent because people were going to get a product at the end, but they had to give some money up front. So I guess that must have helped to some extent.
Yeah, 100%. And because Kickstarter is such a sort of well-known sort of website to go to, people know that's the process. So that's why I would recommend Kickstarter, because you can test your marketing and test the customer base by selling them the product. They get a discount by pitching in early. You get the money up front so you can go and manufacture it. And it allows you to test that market. And it just de-risks it for both sides.
That's really helpful. Thank you. And I know I said that was the last question, but I do actually have one more, sorry, which is, do you have any advice on running Kickstarter campaigns? Obviously, you did brilliantly with yours. Was there anything in particular you think you did, or anything you did actually you'd recommend people don't do?
That's a really hard one. There's probably write you an encyclopedia on it. But, number one takeaway for starters is there's so many resources out there. Don't fall for the trap of going for a really expensive agency, because you can do a lot of it yourself. However, saying that, don't burn your money away thinking you can do it all when there might be someone who can help you for a small fee to maybe run your ads and get them perfect so that you're reaching out to the right customer base. So there's a line between sort of paying loads for support but not paying anything for support, and finding a sort of middle ground is what I recommend.
Thank you. That really makes sense. I think it's a case of maybe knowing what your strengths are and the areas in which you'd need support, because I think it's fair to say that most of us aren't good at everything.
Yeah, and you can try to do too much at once.
Yes, sure. That's very true. Well, thank you so much. That actually really was the last question. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed speaking to you and hearing more about your product. So thank you.
Well, thank you for your time. I hope the listeners out there go and check us out.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening right to the end of this episode. Do remember that you can get the full back catalogue and lots of free resources on my website, vickyweinberg.com. Please do remember to rate and review this episode if you've enjoyed it, and also share it with a friend who you think might find it useful. Thank you again, and see you next week. If you've been inspired to start a podcast in 2024, I really recommend my podcast host, Captivate. Captivate were my top pick when I started podcasting 4 years ago because of how easy it was for a complete novice like me to get started. I've stuck with them for the last 4 years because Captivate is still really simple to use. They keep adding great new features like the ability to share ads like these, and they've just been really reliable. So when you're ready to start your own podcast, you can use the link in the show notes and get a free 7-day trial with Captivate.